Hello and welcome back everyone, we Weeb online, and today I'm gonna continue the story What If Naruto Became a Kage Level Shinobi Part 4. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
The sand named Hokage was in his office, doing paperwork and smoking his pipe. "Dear Kami," prayed Hiruzen, "I need a distraction. Before this damn paperwork drives me nuts. Ask and you shall receive." Hiruzen Sarutobi. The sun broke from behind a cloud. The Hokage's office window slid open with no visible cause, letting a breeze of Konoha's fresh afternoon air. The voice of an angel delivered the following words. "Hey man, can I get a toke?" "Wait, did I say angel? Never mind. It's tobacco, Jiraiya, not cannabis," scolded Hiruzen. "Aw, don't be such a drag, old man," said Jiraiya, shimmering into visibility. "Remind me again. What did the great Toad Sage tell you about drugs?" Stick with the choice stuff." Hiruzen glared at him. "Stay away from bad acid." "I believe," said Hiruzen sardonically. His exact words were, "If you don't go completely straight, Jiraiya boyo, you won't live to see world peace." And Fukasaku made it quite clear that it was a true prophecy. "Didn't he say it was the only time the great honorable geezer remembered your name?" Jiraiya threw his hands in the air. I know. Don't remind me. That was the worst day of my life. I've been clean ever since, I swear." Hiruzen snorted. "Drugs aside, I believe you came here for a purpose." "Yeah man, come to check up on a certain godson. Hang around Ikaraku's ramen at dinner time. Naruto will come to you." "So, dude," said Jiraiya, once introductions had been made, "I hear you're in need of a trainer for the Chunin exam final tournament." Naruto frowned. I was actually planning on training myself." "You sound interested in the position. What's with the blues, man? I thought you'd be stoked." "Well," said Naruto, "I'm not sure if there's really anything an old man like you can teach me." "Old man," spluttered Jiraiya indignantly. "Listen bro, I am a hippie. Hippies never get old. Especially a follower of free love, like me. And I am no ordinary man. I am a super ninja, one of the Sannin. I assure you, there is plenty I can teach you." Naruto rubbed his chin. "On second thought, you're a sage, right? Teach me senjutsu." "No." Jiraiya turned him down flatly, with the thumbs down to emphasize. "Teach me senjutsu." "No." "Teach me senjutsu." "Dude, no. You ain't ready for senjutsu." "Yes, I am." "No, you're not." "Yes, I am." "No, you're not." "Yes, I am. And I can prove it." Jiraiya raised a skeptical eyebrow. "How you gonna do that?" Naruto grinned. "By beating you in a fight, of course." Jiraiya laughed loudly. "Boyo, you're 100 years too early to beat me. But I'll let you try." 100 years. I knew you were old, but I didn't know you were that old. Training ground 3 should be empty right now. You ready to go, or do you need to warm up your geriatric muscles first? "Dude, I'm still a spring chicken. And I am always ready." Jiraiya dismissed his rainbow-colored toad and started walking. "Okay," said Naruto. "So this is a straight-up taijutsu and ninjutsu spar. Basic weapons, but no jinjutsu or stopping to draw fuinjutsu. I need to prove to you that I have the strength, power, and control for senjutsu." Jiraiya was impressed. "Well dang, you actually dig it." "Damn right I do. Senjutsu is one of the few ninja arts you can't even start learning without a teacher, and I've been interested in learning for a while. So just to get this straight, if I win you'll teach me senjutsu, right?" "I'm the one that's gonna pound you, kiddo." "But sure, those are the terms." "One more thing," said Naruto. "You don't use any toads and I won't use Kyuubi's chakra, okay? This is strictly one-on-one." Jiraiya paused, gaping. "Fine, no toads and no Kyuubi. Good. First things first, let me chase off that spy." "Spy." Naruto created a shadow clone, which vanished in a shunshin. Moments later a root ninja fell bonelessly out of a tree, and the shadow clone reappeared, grabbed the root ninja, and vanished again in a puff of smoke. "Was that a?" started Jiraiya. "One of Danzo's fake ANBU, yes. Not sure if he was following you or me, don't really care." And with that, Naruto stepped about 5 meters away from Jiraiya and faced him for the fight. "Let's see," thought Naruto, "gotta show him something powerful, but also gotta reassure him of my loyalty to Konoha. He seems predisposed to trust me because of who my parents were, which is good, but that would go out the window if he sees me using foreign jutsu styles, unless I can explain where they come from. So the legacy style it is. Good thing that's one of my most powerful." Naruto took a solid stance, his feet parallel and a little over one shoulder width apart, knees bent. He clapped his hands together in a ram seal. Staring Jiraiya in the eye, he concentrated, and 9 solid chakra chains sprouted from his back and spread out around him. Diamond-shaped, bladed points on the end of each chain. So you've got your mother's adamantine sealing chains, remarked Jiraiya, taking his own stance and pulling out a kunai in each hand. Then, not moving, Naruto formed 9 Rasengans, one at the tip of each chain. Jiraiya whistled. Far out. But can you use it, or are you gonna wipe out when you try and fight with it? Well, said Naruto, we'll just have to find out, won't we? Releasing his hand seal, he flicked his wrist and a 3-pronged kunai appeared out of his sleeve in a puff of smoke, and he threw it at Jiraiya. The Toad Sage's eyes widened as he saw the tri-pronged kunai and his instinct screamed. Whoa shit. Luckily for him, he managed a Kawarami before Naruto vanished and reappeared where Jiraiya had been in a Hurricane. Chains and Rasengans and all, 2 of the Rasengans slamming into the log Jiraiya had replaced himself with. Naruto whirled and faced Jiraiya where he had hidden in the forest, the 9 chains coming from his back orbiting around him like prehensile tails. Did I forget to tell you I'm a censor? Said Naruto. He threw another Hurricane kunai at Jiraiya's location and multiplied it with a kunai shadow clone jutsu without a single hand seal. As 100 tri-pronged kunai rained down on Jiraiya's location, he escaped again in a shunshin. Okay, this could get a bit hairy. The next time Naruto threw a Hurricane kunai in his direction, Jiraiya threw his own kunai to deflect it halfway and charged at Naruto himself. You want to fight close? Fine. Forming a couple of hand seals, he said, Needle Jizo, and formed his hair into a hardened, spiky mane as strong as steel and covering his body. Then he stuck out his hands and formed a pair of Rasengans of his own, and used them to deflect 4 of Naruto's Rasengans and thrust one at his torso. That didn't work. One of Naruto's Hurricane kunai vanished, and in its place he produced his own glowing Rasengan, clashing it with Jiraiya's. A moment later, both Rasengans exploded and the 2 combatants were thrown back, flipping to land on their feet again. The ground in front of Naruto was scarred where his Rasengan-tipped chains had impacted it during his somewhat uncontrolled somersault, but he managed to keep all 9 of those spiraling balls of chakra intact and going. Naruto grinned and ran at Jiraiya himself, flicking out a few more Hurricane kunai in every direction, aiming to cover the battlefield with markers so as to give himself more options. So your Rasengan is as strong as mine, said Jiraiya, and you have a rather powerful offensive ninteijutsu style. The question is your defense just as good? Needle Senbon. He crouched and made a few hand signs, and his mane of hair started firing stiff, chakra-reinforced strands of hair at Naruto like thousands of steel needles. Well, I can always just get out of the way, said Naruto, teleporting off to the side. Jiraiya instantly changed the direction of his needle fire. Or I can do this, said Naruto. He glowed and released an aura of medium blue chakra, about 1/3 of a meter thick around his body and rising higher above his head like a flame. The hair needles simply slowed to a halt or bounced off his aura. Uh-oh, said Jiraiya. Naruto produced a Rasengan in each hand and charged at Jiraiya right through the needle storm. Daten, Yomi Numa. A large mud pit appeared in front of Jiraiya and under Naruto, threatening to swallow up the orange-suited genin. Naruto overpowered the chakra Jiraiya had put in the jutsu by pushing chakra from his own water-walking technique deep into the mud, and just kept running. Jiraiya, being the S-ranked ninja that he was more than fast enough to get out of the way with another Kawarami. The next thing he tried was a Katen, Karyuan-dan. Naruto brought one of his Rasengan-tipped chains forward, and, extending it, dispelling the fire dragon, running into the blast of orange plasma, which wasn't intense enough to hurt him with his chakra aura. He used it to hide his actions and threw another Hurricane kunai at Jiraiya with a kunai shadow clone jutsu to multiply it. Oh, come on. How did this kid get so powerful? Said Jiraiya, using another Kawarami to get out of the way, and finding a place that was free of tri-pronged kunai. He started a sequence of seals, then stopped. Crap, no summoning toads, right. Well, there's more than one way to do it. Shadow clone no jutsu. Then, with his shadow clone, he produced a massive wide-range combination oil and fire technique, sending it at Naruto at high speed. Naruto simply vanished in a teleport. So you want to play with clones, do you? Came Naruto's voice from the forest. Jiraiya wasn't the greatest censor, but he was easily good enough to feel the massive burst of chakra that followed. Then let's play with clones, chorused 50 voices. Then 50 Hurricane kunai came flying out of the forest, and 50 Narutos flashed into the clearing, all of them with 9 chains coming from their backs and Rasengans on the ends of them. Jiraiya had managed to deflect the teleport markers that were flying in his direction, but now he was surrounded by clones, 6 of whom were charging at him. That's unreal, shouted Jiraiya, using another Kawarami to get away. Okay, new rule, no clones, no clones. Awa, chorused the 50 Narutos in the clearing. But I like clones, and you started it. You don't need much control for shadow clones anyway. argued Jiraiya. Fine. The 50 shadow clones vanished in a cloud of white smoke that covered the field. Jiraiya barely managed to turn and get a Rasengan up to defend himself against Naruto as he leaped at Jiraiya from behind. He had to use his hair to shield against 5 Rasengans on chains, and quickly disengaged before they could grind through his defense. Finally coming up with a way to counter Naruto's many vectors of attack at close range, Jiraiya charged at Naruto again. Concentrating, he split his mane of hair into 3 and wrapped one around himself as a defense, swinging his head to assist the motion. Because his hair wasn't properly prehensile like Naruto's chains, he used the other 2 tails of hair to swipe at Naruto's chains, below the Rasengans on their tips, and managed to capture 7 of them. Naruto produced a Rasengan in each hand and swiped his other 2 chains at Jiraiya, who was forced to use his 3rd lock of hair to grab the chains out of the way as he clashed his own pair of spiraling chakra balls against the ones in Naruto's hands, both combatants keeping them intact this time. The Rasengans on the chains were still damaging his hair, but slowly due to lack of leverage, Naruto could bend his chains any way he chose, but they were primarily strong in stabbing or pulling. When Jiraiya tried to kick him, Naruto blocked with his own leg, his chakra-enhanced strength able to keep up with Jiraiya. Looks like we have a stalemate, grinned Jiraiya. The question is, who will last longer? You're burning chakra much faster than I am. FWOOOM. A stalemate, have we? Jiraiya was suddenly struck on the stomach by a Rasengan on the end of a chain that hadn't been there before, exploding and sending him flying backwards. Before he landed, Naruto was on him, wrapping him in dozens of chains and threatening him with 4 Rasengans. Surrender, asked Naruto. Jiraiya flexed his muscles. He couldn't move, and his chakra was suppressed by the adamantine sealing chains. I give, he admitted. How do you do that? Releasing Jiraiya, Naruto explained, you assumed that I could only produce 9 chains. Maybe you thought Kyuubi was helping me control them and they corresponded to his tails or something. The fact is, I can make more, I can produce them from other parts of my body besides my back, and I don't need a hand seal to do it. So I made 2 more from my chest, used one to tag you with a Hiraishin seal on the leg, and used the other to hit you with a Rasengan. That is one seriously bad fighting style you got there. I didn't know you could use the chains to cast ninjutsu. Your mother certainly didn't. Yep, if they can be used to create seals, they can create detailed chakra patterns. So ninjutsu. Do you need to visit the hospital? No, I think I'm fine. Jiraiya checked his stomach. His tie-dyed shirt had a big tattered hole in it, and he had a big, spiral-shaped bruise forming, but nothing dangerous. You made that last Rasengan destabilize on purpose, right? Yup, didn't want it to grind into your body too much. So, now you're gonna teach me senjutsu, right? Naruto was suddenly excited. Jiraiya groaned. Unfortunately, I can't teach you senjutsu. What? But you promised if I beat you, objected Naruto indignantly. I didn't think you could actually beat me. And it's a matter of can't, as in, I am unable to. I was never able to master senjutsu completely myself. I need the help of Ma and Pa to go into sage mode. Naruto's face fell. Sheesh, what a cop-out. Hey, senjutsu is some seriously gnarly stuff. Anyway, I never said you wouldn't be learning senjutsu, just that I can't teach you myself. Really? Naruto grinned again. Yup, all you have to do is sign the Toad summoning contract and convince them to teach you. The Toads? Huh? Can I talk to them before I sign the contract? Sure, let me summon Pa. As Naruto watched, Jiraiya made 5 hand seals and slammed his right hand on the ground. A black Fuinjutsu script appeared, and with a puff of smoke, an old toad appeared. He had a tuft of white hair atop his head, 2 very bushy white eyebrows, and a goatee. And he sat around half a meter tall, wearing a simple tan cloak around his body. Jiraiya boyo, what did you summon me for? Ma was making that delicious caterpillar stew of hers. Jiraiya grimaced, and dismissed the image that brought up. Pa, this is Naruto, he's a cool head and a badass. Naruto, this is Fukasaku, he and his old lady are the 2 elder sages of the Toads. I'd like Naruto to sign the Toad contract, but he wants to talk to you first. HRM, so he's the one you've been talking about. Fukasaku inspected Naruto, then he turned to Jiraiya. Is he the one who did that to you? He pointed at Jiraiya's stomach. No, training accident. Gotta go visit the hospital, bye. Jiraiya vanished in a shunshin as Naruto snickered and Fukasaku laughed. You're strong, boy. And that was definitely your chakra in that bruise of his. Is that the sensory ability of senjutsu you're using? Asked Naruto. Yes, now you had questions about the Toad contract. Yeah. Could we go to a more private location for this? I'm pretty sure we've got at least one eavesdropper, and while I trust Gramps, there are always at least 4 other people listening in when he uses the crystal ball of his. Well, I'd offer to reverse summon you to Mount Mayaboku, but you haven't signed the Toad contract yet. Naruto thought for a bit. He threw 4 ceiling tags down in a square around them and activated an invisible privacy barrier. Okay, one question, and this is the one that will decide whether I sign. Would you allow me to sign another summoning contract with someone else in addition to the Toads? Fukasaku raised one bushy eyebrow. Depends on who it is. Naruto leaned in and whispered in Fukasaku's ear, covering his mouth with both hands. I want to give Kyuubi and the other Biju a summoning realm where they can no longer be used as weapons by humans. Kyuubi agreed to it if I can manage to set it up. The old Toad gaped. Then he thought for a moment and said, "That's a very ambitious goal, Naruto boyo. And what about the others? How do you intend to pull this off?" "With their agreement, of course, and any way I can do it without starting a war. There's no big rush." Fukasaku slammed his palm on the ground, summoning a big orange toad with blue markings. Gamma, the contract scroll. The toad, apparently named Gamma, opened his mouth and presented a big scroll, wrapped in his tongue. Fukasaku took the scroll with both hands and unrolled it. Meanwhile, Naruto collected his ceiling tags again and took down his privacy barrier, seeing that the telling of secrets was over. "I think it's safe to say," said Fukasaku, "that we want you to sign our contract, and that will help you with your goal. Just try not to get influenced by a flamboyant toad by the name of Gamariki, will you? We don't need another hippie." "Right on," agreed Naruto. Fukasaku bonked him on the head with a staff that he was suddenly holding. "No hippie slang. Don't even joke about it." "Oh, alright. Where do I sign?" Wait. Pa, I wanted to be the one to teach him how to summon." Jiraiya was back. He sported a large red mark on his cheek that looked suspiciously like a handprint, and he had a new tie-dyed shirt on. "Jiraiya," Fukasaku addressed him. "What did you do? Flirt with the wrong nurse again?" "Nonsense. There is no such thing as flirting with the wrong person. Love is free, man." Naruto unrolled the scroll and started studying both sides of it, noting the fuinjutsu along the borders and concluding that it was 2 scrolls glued together with seals written on the glued side of both of them. "Oi, Naruto, no peeling apart the contract," warned Jiraiya preemptively. "Just like his father, isn't he?" remarked Fukasaku. "Don't worry," said Naruto. "I promise I won't damage it." He grabbed the scroll and made a one-handed seal, forming a shadow clone with a copy of the scroll. The clone immediately began peeling his copy of the scroll apart. Jiraiya and Fukasaku gaped. "You can do that," said Jiraiya, stunned. Fukasaku facepalmed. "I can't believe no one ever thought of that. We lost the formula for that scroll hundreds of years ago, and we never wanted to risk damaging that thing in order to find out, so it stayed lost." "I'll make you a copy when I've deconstructed the formula," said Naruto cheerily. "Now, what do I do? Sign my name in blood with a finger and then put my handprint below it." "Looks like that's what the other summoners did." "Yup," confirmed Jiraiya. Naruto did so, using a tiny wind blade from one finger to cut his palm, letting the blood pool, then using that to sign and handprint. "Alright, a bit of blood for the authentication seal, and the hand seals for summoning our boar dog bird monkey ram. Right. How much chakra do I use?" "As much as you can," said Jiraiya confidently. "As much as I can." "Are you sure about that?" asked Naruto. "Kid, summoning takes a lot of chakra. As much as you can." "Hang on a moment," interrupted Fukasaku, having sensed Naruto's reserves far better than Jiraiya could. He rolled up the original contract scroll and returned it to Gamma, who took it back home. "Okay, now you can start." "Okay." Naruto immediately started glowing a dark blue, pulling up almost his entire reserves of highly dense chakra. Then he released one of the chakra storage scrolls hidden in the back of his shirt, and added it to his chakra coils as he made the 5 hand seals. Ignoring Jiraiya, who was now gaping and protesting that it was too much chakra, he slammed his hand on the ground and cried, summoning jutsu, expelling all of that chakra into the technique. Thick lines of script spread out from under his palm, forming a seal pattern that stretched across the entire clearing of Training Ground 3. There was a puff of smoke, and a toad appeared. "Great Honorable Geezer, Great Geezer Sage," exclaimed Fukasaku and Jiraiya in surprise. There, sitting in the clearing with Naruto on his back, was a huge, very old toad with a lot of wrinkles. He was a dusky reddish-brown in color, his limbs looking somewhat atrophied from age, and he wore a red beaded necklace with a large jewel in the front with the kanji for oil on it. And he wore a large black professor's hat on his head. "It's been a while since anybody summoned me. Get down in front of me so I can see you, boy." Naruto obediently leapt lightly down from the ancient toad's back and walked around to his front. My name is Naruto, he introduced himself. What's your name? The wrinkled old toad opened his eyes and looked at Naruto. HRM ha ha ha. The child of prophecy asks my name. It's been years since anybody asked my name. Jiraiya whispered to Fukasaku, the old geezer has a name. In response, Fukasaku whacked him on the head with his staff, knocking Jiraiya over. My name is Gamamaru. It's nice to meet you, Naruto. It's nice to meet you too, Gamamaru, said Naruto politely. He clapped his hands together. Will you teach me senjutsu? HRM. The last humans I taught senjutsu to were those two brothers Hagoromo and Hemura. Yes, I will teach you senjutsu. Jiraiya whispered in Fukasaku's ear again. The old geezer can still use senjutsu at his age. And why is he sounding so much less senile than usual? Of course he can, Jiraiya, he's a sage. He knows more about senjutsu than Ma, and I combined. Gamamaru laughed again and addressed Jiraiya. Yes, pervert without equal, I can use senjutsu. In fact, I haven't stopped using senjutsu in more than a century. I do believe that if I stopped now, I would fall over and die of old age. Ha 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 ha. He stretched his limbs. It's been a while since I had this much energy. I must thank you for summoning me, Naruto. Is that how it works? You guys get energy from your summoner's chakra. That is indeed the exchange on which the contract is based, said Gamamaru. You get to summon us for assistance, and we get some chakra, which eventually turns into natural energy for Mount Mayaboku. Speaking of which, we should go there now. You are coming with us, correct, Naruto? I predict that if we do not return within 1 minute, Shima will be most unhappy, especially when she realizes that both Fukasaku and I are gone. Is that a prophecy, great honorable geezer? Asked Jiraiya. Of course it is. I sensed that her caterpillar stew was nearly done before I was summoned. Knowing Shima's character and her current mood, I made a prediction. It will almost certainly come true, therefore it is indistinguishable from any other prophecy. Jiraiya nodded, pretending he understood. Fukasaku stumbled and fell flat on his face. That's how prophecies work. Naruto made 4 shadow clones, which all immediately vanished. Okay, I'm ready to go. How do we do this? You just need to be touching me, said Gamamaru, reaching out a hand. Naruto grasped one of the ancient toad's fingers, and they disappeared in a cloud of smoke. Come on, Jiraiya. Shima's cooking her caterpillar stew with those rare fire ants today. Fukasaku licked his lips in anticipation. Jiraiya groaned. Hiruzen, contrary to Naruto's guess, had stopped watching his crystal ball as soon as he had finished gaping at the conclusion to Naruto's fight with Jiraiya. He did actually have a lot of paperwork to do. Plus, there was a Chunin waiting outside his door to report back on a mission. He pressed a button under his desk, signaling to his secretary that the next person could be sent in. Lord Hokage, said the Chunin. He was a civilian-born Chunin with a relatively unknown face, who specialized in disguise and often took lower-ranked infiltration missions. How goes the mission? I'm afraid there's very little progress so far, sir. The clerk at the Whirlwind office said they are not looking for employees at the current time. When I asked him for an employment application form anyway, he said the company seeks out potential prospects, rather than accepting applicants, so they don't even have an application form. You investigated in other directions, I take it. Yes, I shadowed several of the employees' home and identified them from the residency records. There's nothing suspicious about any of them. Some of them are long-time Konoha residents. Some of them are civilians from outside the village. Did you find out anything about who owns the business? Nothing. I even asked the clerk directly. He said Whirlwind Postal is owned by Whirlwind Incorporated, and he didn't know anything further. He gave the name of his superior, but I was unable to track her down. On vacation, apparently. Alright, keep an eye out and find out when that superior returns from her vacation. This is a low-priority investigation. Very likely there is nothing to be suspicious about. Yet there is something that strikes me as off about that company. I couldn't tell you why. Yes, sir. Hey Shikamaru. A Naruto clone approached Shikamaru in their underground training hall where the other genin was practicing a water jutsu at the edge of a pool of water they had created. Naruto. The clone shook his head. Boss sent me to tell you he's in a summoning land with Jiraiya and the toads, and he's not sure when he'll be back or if we can communicate. He could be out for up to a full month. I already told Shino he's practicing clan techniques with his father. Okay, thanks for the message. Hey, how's your cousin Karin doing? Is she still with Tsunade? Shikamaru tended to just treat shadow clones as the creator, considering that they had the same personality and knowledge and their memories went back to the creator when dispelled anyway. Yup, she's doing well. Auntie Tsunade is pretty sure she can use her bloodline as a jutsu instead of through a bite, and make it much more efficient too. Why, is she more than just your fangirl? Teased the Naruto clone. This from the guy who now has Ino and Sakura stalking him in addition to Hinata. What? How did you learn that? Ino told me in Choji, of course. The Naruto clone groaned. Okay, I give. No more teasing you about Karin. Shikamaru nodded. I just want to be a mediocre ninja, marry an average-looking woman, good-looking but not too pretty, pop out 2.5 kids. Naruto clone rolled his eyes, having heard this before. And a white picket fence and a few deer. Speaking of average and mediocre, do you think you can get your clansmen to stop propositioning my female clones in the Whirlwind office? HMPH, not a chance. Didn't you specifically transform them to be average-looking? Now help me with this water dragon jutsu. I'm still wasting too much chakra. Having seen how Hamura was framed when he went undercover at a bar to spread rumors, Koharu decided to make sure she had an ironclad alibi at all times, giving friendly greetings to more people in the street than she usually did, and making sure she didn't make any private meetings with only one person, and deciding to do her part by simply passing on a rumor in an unsubtle manner. She visited a gossipy old woman and her husband, both of them partners in a small trading business, and chatted for a few minutes. I've heard a rumor, said Koharu, that the brat, you know, him, is being influenced by that thing inside more than usual lately. It's been said that he's becoming stronger and he's been caught knowing techniques that no one taught him. The merchant woman in front of her gasped. Really? The demon is gaining control. I always figured its influence was minimal since, you know, he hasn't killed anyone. Still best to stay away from him, but I thought it was safe. Koharu nodded grimly. I can't tell you where I heard it, but believe me, the information is trustworthy. And please, don't tell anyone that I told you. It wasn't supposed to reach my ears in the first place. The implication of confidentiality clinched it for the traitor and her husband, who nodded along in alarm. A small beetle, hidden in the folds of Koharu's robes, vanished in a tiny puff of smoke. Inoichi, the head of the Yamanaka clan, had inherited a small flower shop from his parents, and he ran it whenever he had time off from his ninja duties. He enjoyed working with the plants, but there weren't always enough customers to keep him from getting bored. Some days, Inoichi wondered if he should sell the place. Ding, ding. The bell on the door chimed as a customer walked in. Welcome to Yamanaka Flower Shop, said Inoichi. How may I help you today, Lady Koharu? I'd like a bouquet of red roses, please. Certainly, said Inoichi. Would you like a small arrangement, a dozen roses, or a medium arrangement, 20 roses? The wrinkled old lady thought for a second. A small arrangement. All right, just give me a minute. Inoichi wrapped the roses in paper and tied them with a ribbon. His customer paid, thanked the man and turned to leave. Then she stopped in the doorway to stare. Inoichi, being a Yamanaka, sensed gossip. He subtly changed his position so he could see out one of the wide windows on the front of the shop. Walking down the street, wearing his habitual scowl, with his nose turned up in the air, was Sasuke Uchiha. Inoichi shook his head. That boy had a serious ego problem. Then his sharp ninja hearing picked up his customer's voice. Damn menopause, muttered the gray-haired old lady. Inoichi blinked and subtly peered at his customer to see if that meant what he thought it did. Sure enough, she was staring at Sasuke. Wow, thought Inoichi, rumor confirmed. Some days, Inoichi really loved his flower shop. No one noticed the old lady duck into an alley and morph into the familiar shape of Naruto Uzumaki before snickering and simply vanishing, leaving no sign that he had ever been there. Hey, said Naruto, taking another bite. I had no idea bugs could taste this good. What did you put in this, Granny Shima? Jiraiya gaped at him, flabbergasted. His own bowl of caterpillar stew was completely untouched. See, Jiraiya, the boy has manners. Now eat your food, you're too skinny as always, scolded Shima. Then she turned to Naruto and rattled off a list of ingredients that included a number of insect species as well as regular kitchen spices. Fire ants. I'll have to remember that. I'm pretty sure I know where a couple of nests are. Would you mind if I added a bit of salt? I'm guessing my human body has slightly different tastes than you toads. Salt? Shima shuddered. I've heard that you humans cook with salt. It makes our tongues shrivel up. I'm afraid I don't have any. Ah, don't worry, I'll keep it away from your bowl. And a seal master is never without his food supplies. Naruto unsealed a salt shaker from a scroll and added a few shakes of salt into his stew before stirring and tasting it. He offered it to Jiraiya. Want some? It adds to the savory taste. Jiraiya sent a pleading look at Naruto with his eyes. If I add salt, then I'll have to taste it. I don't want to taste it. It only made Naruto smirk. Grasping around for a way to change the subject, he fell upon the wording of Naruto's compliment of Shima's stew. When have you tasted bugs before, anyway? He asked sarcastically. Naruto rolled his eyes and put down the salt shaker. When I was 5, the landlord decided I hadn't paid enough rent, so he searched my apartment and took all my money. For the next week I was starving, so I hunted down all the spiders in the apartment and ate them. Everyone in the room froze in horror. Jiraiya took the salt, added some to his stew, and ate, reminded horribly of his failure as a godfather. Shima shuddered for a different reason. Nasty things, spiders, all dry and stringy. Poor boy, you shouldn't have to eat those things. And they compete with us for the flies, added Fukasaku with a frown. Thank goodness we chased all the spiders out of Mount Mayaboku centuries ago. An hour later, once they were done eating and met up with Gamamaru again, Naruto asked, "What did you mean by calling me a chosen one, Gamamaru-sensei?" Jiraiya struck a pose and interrupted. "It means that you, my fab young friend, have been chosen by prophecy to bring peace to the elemental nations through flower power." Naruto raised a skeptical eyebrow. "A prophecy, huh? Does this prophecy have any conditions to it that refer to my choices, like that prediction you made earlier about Shima getting upset if Fukasaku didn't get back before her stew was finished?" "Why would that matter?" asked Jiraiya. "It's a prophecy about the future. Don't you want to know?" Naruto just looked at Gamamaru. Gamamaru answered, "No, it's just a future prophecy, not a piece of advice." "Then I'm going to ignore it. If it's a true prophecy, then it will come true one way or another. I'm certainly not going to pursue flower power in order to make it happen." "What? But I was hoping I could convince you to be a hippie like me." Jiraiya drooped, crestfallen. Gamamaru laughed in his raspy way. "Wise choice, Naruto. A prophecy is just a prediction, nothing more, nothing less. You don't need to listen to it if you don't want to." "Kakashi," said Sasuke, "teach me." Kakashi looked up from his Ika book, which, once again, he was reading in the middle of the street. He sighed. He had been hoping none of his students would approach him for training, but if it happened he would have preferred it to be Naruto. The blonde boy was just so much easier to get along with. Oh well, he was obligated, as a Jonin sensei, to teach one of his students for the month leading up to the Chunin exam finals if he was asked, so he couldn't really turn Sasuke down. "Fine, meet me at training ground 16 in half an hour with a week's worth of wilderness supplies." Sasuke turned and walked off. Kakashi sighed again. It was going to be a long month. Maybe he could take out his displeasure by showing Sasuke just how useless his new Earth Release armor technique was against lightning jutsu. "The first thing you must learn is how to stay completely still and become one with nature," said Gamamaru. "This will allow natural energy to enter your body. Then you must mix that natural energy with your own chakra and balance it correctly. If you have too much chakra in the mix, you will not go into sage mode. If you have too much natural energy, you will turn into a stone statue of a toad." Naruto listened carefully as Jiraiya and Fukasaku looked on. "Okay, I get that meditating is needed to become one with nature, but why does one need to stay completely still? Not all of nature is completely still. The wind blows, rivers flow, waves move. Even the earth itself moves at times due to natural processes." "That's just the way the technique works," said Jiraiya. Gamamaru laughed. "That's not just the way the technique works," he stated. "It's a good question. You need to stay still and harmonize with the ground below you because that is the toad style of senjutsu. If you were learning a bird clan style of senjutsu, you would be in motion, harmonizing with the air. If you were learning a fish clan style of senjutsu, you would be in the water, harmonizing with its flow. All of these are correct ways of learning senjutsu. However, because you are learning here on Mount Mayaboku, the nature energy is better suited to the toad style." "Do the different styles of senjutsu have different effects?" asked Naruto. "Not greatly. The toad style lends itself slightly better to strength, being based on the earth, and the air and water styles, speed and flexibility, respectively. But despite the slight relationship to the element you harmonize with, nature energy is still basically the same in all of nature." "That makes sense. Is it possible to learn more than one style of senjutsu?" "Yes, of course it is. I myself can use the fish style of senjutsu in addition to the toad style. I'm just a lot better at gathering natural energy in the toad style." "Okay, would turning into a toad statue be because I'm learning here at Mount Mayaboku? I assume you would turn into something else if you were learning in another clan's domain." "Correct. If you take in too much natural energy when learning a water style, you will turn into water and flow away. If you learn in one of the other Earth-based clans' lands, it is a statue that takes the form of one of their species. Except the snakes, their method of learning senjutsu is somewhat unnatural, and if you fail, you will simply get eaten by the white snake sage. Naruto nodded. Note to self, be wary of the white snake sage. Is there a way to reverse getting turned into a statue? No, said Gamamaru. If you turn into stone, it is because you have become so completely one with nature that the natural energy flows through you like it does through the earth, completely washing away your own chakra. What if you had to reserve your own chakra standing by and injected it into your chakra system? Like a storage seal or even a shadow clone. It could work, said Gamamaru. It would require that it be done before the natural energy washes away your chakra entirely, and you would need a great deal of chakra. But that will not be necessary because you will have Fukasaku or I to monitor you and knock the natural energy out of you if you make a mistake. Got it. Is it possible to gather natural energy through Fuinjutsu and inject it into your chakra system in the correct proportion without staying still? Queried Naruto. Most likely, but I would ask that you do not try, said Gamamaru sternly. By removing the necessity of harmonizing with nature, you would lose the ability to connect with it. You would no longer be a sage, just a ninja taking energy that does not belong to you. It is allowed to use natural energy to power a seal that itself becomes part of nature, but to empower yourself in such a way is unnatural and could disturb the balance. Understood. I won't try. Next question. Since chakra is made by mixing your spiritual and physical energy, or yin and yang, why don't you try to add natural energy into the mix when you're creating chakra in the first place? Gamamaru laughed again at Naruto's question. That's exactly what my old student Hagoromo asked. It turns out that the resulting energy is basically the same. But if you are able to separately control the yin and yang energy that you put into the mix, you gain far greater control over it, and several additional abilities. Most beings, myself included, are unable to separately control their spiritual and physical energy like that. But he was able to do so. He called it Six-Path Sage Mode. At this point, Jiraiya's head was spinning and he was barely following the conversation. Damn it, his godson was smarter than he was, just like Minato. But this, he caught. Wait, 6 paths. This Hagoromo was the sage of 6 paths, exclaimed Jiraiya. Yes, that is what people started calling him in his later years, confirmed Gamamaru. Way out. You taught the sage of 6 paths, said Jiraiya. That is pretty awesome, agreed Naruto. Maybe you can tell us more about him sometime. The stories in our history are pretty sparse and untrustworthy. But for now, how do I get started? Meditate and stay as still as possible. And can I speed this up with shadow clones? Eager, aren't you? Said Fukasaku, breaking into the conversation for the first time. Jiraiya, why don't you give it another try? It's been a few years since you tried to finish learning senjutsu properly. Jiraiya groaned. Yeah, can't let the brat get too far ahead of me. I just have trouble holding on to the senjutsu chakra for longer than a few seconds. Bonk. Fukasaku whacked Jiraiya on the head. The only reason you can't hold your concentration on senjutsu chakra is because you keep thinking of sex. No, it's because you won't let me burn incense while practicing. Bonk. That's because you were using it to hide the smell of cannabis. Drugs do not help you get in touch with nature. Auntie Tsunade. Karin, Shizyun, Tonton, how's it going? Naruto knocked on the door of the hotel suite and entered when Shizyun answered the door. Hi Naruto, greeted Shizyun. It's going well, said Karin, holding up a wiggling fish and grinning. Frustrating, said Tsunade. We've been working on the mystical palm jutsu for 2 days now. Karin here has figured out how to use the Uzumaki bloodline to heal things, but it keeps getting in the way of her learning the jutsu. What's the difference between the bloodline and the mystical palm? Asked Naruto. Tsunade sighed. Karin, why don't you explain? Sometimes explaining it yourself helps you understand it. The mystical palm is about converting your chakra into medical chakra, channeling it into the patient's injuries, and simultaneously using the technique to sense out what's wrong and to correct the injury, put tissues back together, encourage cell growth, or whatever is necessary to fix it, explained Karin, almost by rote. My bloodline, on the other hand, sends my special chakra into the patient's chakra system, somehow making them heal themselves without requiring me to know anything about their body. So, let me guess, said Naruto. Auntie Tsunade is hoping that if you learn how the body works, you can make your bloodline more efficient by channeling that special chakra directly into the patient's wounds without wasting energy by filling their entire chakra system. Yes, confirmed Shizyun, making Karin pout. The problem is she just keeps healing the fish without sensing what's wrong. If the bloodline works by sending that special chakra into the patient's chakra network, why not just use a chakra suppression seal on the fish's chakra network so Karin can practice the mystical palm technique properly? Proposed Naruto. Everyone gaped at him. Why didn't I think of that? Said Tsunade. Naruto, can you make me a few fish-sized chakra network suppression seals? Sure. Naruto made a group of 10 shadow clones and handed them some sealing supplies. Any news on your end? Asked Shizune. I know the second part of the Chunin exams must have finished by now. Well, I'm actually a clone, and that's what I came here to tell you. Jiraiya offered to train the boss for a month. Your deadbeat godfather finally made contact. Tsunade sneered. Yeah, the Naruto clone snickered, talking in first person because Tsunade addressed him as Naruto. He did have the same memories after all. I asked him to teach me senjutsu. He said no. Then I made a deal with him that if I could beat him in a spar, he would teach me. Guess what happened? Tsunade laughed. I hope you got the old hippie good. She and Shizune were some of the very few people who had an idea of how strong Naruto really was. Sure did. Straightforward ninjutsu match too. Then he said he couldn't teach me senjutsu because he hadn't mastered it himself, so he introduced me to the toads. Boss is training on Mount Mayaboku now. Tsunade sighed. The toads, huh? Unfortunately, the slugs don't have a sage. I would have liked to have you sign with the slugs, but I guess they aren't really your style, are they? Excuse me, said Karin, are you talking about Jiraiya of the Sannin? You actually beat him. Naruto clone grinned. That's right. He produced a chakra chain from his palm. Then he produced a Rasengan on the tip of it. There were a lot of these involved. Karin gasped. She was a powerful natural chakra sensor, and she could feel the intensity of the chakra in the technique. A lot of those, she exclaimed in disbelief. See, said another of Naruto's clones. That's how you walk on water. Got it. Meow, confirmed his two students. Konohamaru and Tora stepped into the shallow water of the pond hidden in the forested training ground they were using. With a shiver of disgust on the cat's part, channeled chakra to the bottom of one foot, and started trying to step onto the surface. Emro, complained Tora. Sorry Tora, learning to deal with waves is part of learning. The ripples Konohamaru is making are nothing compared to the difficulty of walking on flowing water. So, said a voice coming from the forest, this is how Tora has been getting harder to capture. Grandpa, shouted Konohamaru. Oh no, he found out about our secret training. MREOOW. Tora dashed away and hid behind a tree. He recognized this old man. He was the one who kept sending ninjas to recapture him. Hi Gramps, said the Naruto clone. What's up? Oh, you know, just figuring out why my genin teams have started utterly failing a certain D-ranked mission for a while now. Hiruzen walked out of the forest in his white Hokage robes like he hadn't just been jumping through the trees at high speed. Ahahihi. Naruto clone rubbed the back of his head in embarrassment. Hiruzen laughed. Might as well give the cat a sporting chance. And Konohamaru, you've already graduated from tree climbing. Yup, said Konohamaru proudly. I'll be strong enough to beat you soon. He's not strong enough to walk up the trees on his feet, explained Naruto, but his chakra control is good enough to climb up on all fours or hang upside down from his feet. Since water walking doesn't require physical strength, I figured there's no reason to let your chakra control wait until your physical strength catches up. It should work because Konohamaru's got a lot more chakra than the average. Mogi and Udon tired out from tree climbing and went home half an hour ago. Good idea. So Naruto, I saw your match with Jiraiya. Naruto clone smirked. Figured you'd be watching with that crystal ball of yours. Indeed, I must congratulate you. You're rather overpowered for a genin, aren't you? Little bit, maybe, grinned Naruto clone. I'd better quadruple my bet on the Chunin exam finals. Also, you're a clone, right? The original is with Jiraiya. Yup. Did you want to speak to the boss? Actually, I wanted to send a message to Jiraiya. Bored, Konohamaru stepped back into the water and started training again. Tora followed him, finally deciding that the old man in the white robes wasn't going to capture him. Naruto would spend the entire month until the Chunin exam finals on Mount Mayaboku, learning senjutsu from Gamamaru and Fukasaku. He found out that he could actually use Hiraishin to teleport to and from Konoha, but he only sent shadow clones back and forth. They ate bugs every day, much to the disgust of Jiraiya, who was very grateful to receive a note from the Hokage, brought by Naruto's clone via Hiraishin, summoning him away to use his spy network and prepare to counter Orochimaru's plans. Naruto learned that the amount of natural energy you could absorb to produce senjutsu chakra was directly related to your own chakra reserves. Jiraiya put Naruto's vast reserves of chakra down to his status as a Jinchuriki, but Naruto knew better. He was very grateful for his father's advice for increasing chakra capacity. "Auntie, I did it," shouted Naruto, appearing along the road Tsunade, Shizune, Karin, and Tonton were currently walking on. "Naruto," asked Tsunade, stopping her stride. "What did you do?" "I learned the mystical palm jutsu." "You finally trained your chakra control fine enough to do it." "Nope," grinned Naruto. "I learned senjutsu, and when I'm in sage mode I get a big increase in chakra control, which is enough to use medical techniques." "Show me," requested Tsunade. Naruto produced a single shadow clone, handed it a scroll, and sat cross-legged on the ground and meditated. After 20 seconds, orange eyeshadows appeared around his eyes and he opened his eyelids, showing yellow eyes with bar pupils like a toad. "Whoa, it's like you almost disappeared," said Karin, who had been trying to feel what Naruto was doing with her sensory abilities. "Is that your sage mode?" asked Shizune. "Yup, this is sage mode," said Naruto. "Ready." The clone unsealed a limp fish from the scroll and held it out in front of Naruto. Naruto quickly made the hand seals for the mystical palm jutsu, and when his hands started glowing green, held them over the fish. A few seconds later it began to wiggle. Tsunade quickly activated her own mystical palm and touched the fish to examine what Naruto was doing. "Decent for a beginner," she said. "A bit crude. You're using too much chakra and I wouldn't let you anywhere near a human with that technique until you're a lot better. But it looks like I now have 2 new students." "Yes," exclaimed Naruto, jumping up and pumping a fist in the air. "Wait, Karin too." "Sorry, I haven't caught up with you in a month." Tsunade nodded. Her chakra control is nearly perfect and she has a mind for medical knowledge as well as the interest. "I'll teach her." "Congratulations, Karin." "And thanks, Auntie." "Thanks, Naruto," said Karin. Auntie, you don't mind if I accelerate my training with shadow clones, do you? I've already used them to read all the medical books I can get my hands on." "No, that's fine," said Tsunade, rolling her eyes. "I know you're crazy about shadow clones, and you can't travel with us constantly anyway, so you'll need them to keep up with Karin." "Shadow clones? What do you mean by accelerating your training?" asked Karin. Naruto, still in sage mode, looked at Karin for a moment. "You'll need to build your chakra capacity at least 5 times over before it's safe for you to make a shadow clone. They're solid clones that transfer their knowledge and experience back to you when they dispel, so they're extremely useful for learning pretty much anything." He looked at Shizune for a moment. "You and Shizune have chakra heavily tilted towards the inside, so you would both benefit from doing a lot more physical exercise. That will increase your chakra regeneration rate pretty quickly, and your reserves along with it. Just remember to keep doing those control exercises or your control will start to degrade as your capacity grows." "Inside, as in spiritual chakra?" asked Karin. "Yup. Well, spiritual energy, not chakra, also known as mental energy. You know, when mixed with physical energy it produces chakra. You and Shizune have obviously using your minds a lot, so you have lots of yin energy. All you need to do is increase your yang energy, or physical energy, and you'll have a lot more chakra in general. You can actually tell that with your sensory ability." "Nope, that's sage mode again." Karin thought for a moment, then asked worriedly, "Yin and yang also have another meaning besides spiritual and physical, female, and male. If I increase my yang chakra, it's not going to turn me into a tomboy, is it?" Shizune and Tsunade burst into laughter. Naruto just declared, better a tomboy than a fangirl. Even if it was hilarious to see the way Shikamaru reacted when you kissed him. Karin turned red and punched him in the face. It didn't do anything except make her knuckles hurt, considering that Naruto was still in sage mode. "That's the spirit," said Naruto. "We'll make you into a tomboy yet." "Alright," said Naruto, sitting on his couch in his hideout. "It's been a full month since I was able to do this, and tomorrow's the day of the Chunin exam finals, so we need to do this now." Report. The Whirlwind Postal Head clone went first. "We've successfully opened a Whirlwind office in Wave. Profits are low there, as the citizens are cautious of shipping companies, but we're getting good PR because we don't try to influence anything outside of our office location. The office in the Land of Vegetables is making a killing, because we've managed to secure an exclusive contract for delivering vegetables grown on the daimyo's lands to all foreign customers for the next 8 years. Overall profits are up again as usual, we're richer than Gato ever was and there's no sign of stopping. The Hokage's Chunin investigator tried to get hired at the Konoha office, and we turned him down as expected, but he continued to look into us. All of our employees in Konoha have deep cover personalities and histories, which he did look into and found nothing. But sooner or later Gramps is going to forget about covert investigations, come into the office in person, and straight out ask about the owners. We need to figure out what our next steps will be for that. Finally, I'm going to recommend that we actually start hiring real people to man the offices where we receive packages to send out. Your month-long hiatus strained the clone network, even though you sent clones with chakra storage seals halfway through. And the more whirlwind offices we add, the more chakra we will require. Okay, got it, said Naruto, closing his eyes and taking in the summary for a few moments, so as to more easily understand the influx of memories he was about to receive. Dispel. After a few minutes of much-needed meditation to process a month's worth of clone memories, Naruto recreated the whirlwind clone and applied the durability seal that allowed him to function without getting popped at the first injury. Then Naruto handed over a stack of chakra storage seals, and the man dressed in the delivery uniform left, his orders already in his head. Next, the apprentice clone stepped forward and reported. The apprentices, students of various trades and arts, each had their own personalities and appearances, some of them rather colorful. But the head was a girl named Yui. She created all the other apprentice clones, and their memories returned only to her due to a bit of fuinjutsu Naruto had created, and from her to Naruto only when she dispelled. He didn't immediately respawn her, because he wanted to wait for the information from the last two reports first. Then the spy clone reported. Everything is happening around the Chunin exam finals, said the figure covered from head to toe in black. Orochimaru and Oda will attack with the aid of sand. Danzo will make his move after the finals are over, and Project Whirlpool is prepared to execute as ordered tomorrow, when all eyes are on the tournament. To go into a bit more detail, Kabuto Yakashi was broken out of the T&I department cells a week after his capture by a disguised intruder who was most likely Orochimaru himself. The Kage was killed by Orochimaru and Kabuto 4 days ago, and Orochimaru has disguised himself as the Kage and will attend the Chunin exam tournament in his place. Hamura and Koharu have been slowly spreading their rumor campaign among people directly connected to the civilian council, and Danzo has completed the preparations he was planning. As planned, we are taking subtle revenge on Hamura and Koharu, but doing nothing to actually counter their actions. And what's the progress on the Kiri Civil War? Asked Naruto. They're kind of moving in circles, said the spy clone, avoiding Yagura's troops, occasionally attacking an outpost. But they don't seem to have the power to actually take him out right now. Zabuza and his apprentice did join up with them 2 weeks ago. Naruto nodded. Dispel. The spy clone did so, and after meditating for 20 minutes, Naruto recreated the spy clone and the apprentice clone, and created a training clone, as his group of training clones had slowly run out completely over the last month while he was at Mount Mayaboku. Alright, fastest thing first. Training. Keep working on reducing the time it takes to enter Sage mode and increasing the time we can keep it running. Practice the frog kata and find out if we can mix it with any other styles. And we won't wait for Auntie Tsunade to teach us medical techniques. We'll learn them from scrolls and go to her when we need help or run out of techniques that are written on scrolls. Now for the invasion. Gramps is making preparations to defend Konoha, but we need to protect the people precious to us. Here's what we're going to do. Naruto and his clones discussed plans for the next hour before the clones left to make preparations, and Naruto left for the comfortable bedroom beside his office and fell asleep for the night. The crowd waited in anticipation for the tournament participants and the proctor to arrive. "YOSH," shouted Guy. "Kakashi, my eternal rival. What brings you here on time today?" "Oh, got tired of dealing with the brooding Emo for a month, sent him home yesterday and told him to rest up." Kakashi was, of course, reading his Ika Ika book, but was apparently watching the arena at the same time. "A brooding Emo," said Asuma. "That's ironic, considering you used to be one. Still are, by some standards. Please, I've never been anywhere near as bad as Sasuke. He's got a superiority complex and an inferiority complex, for Kami's sake. Both of them incredibly strong. And he doesn't even take up a useful habit to distract him, like training or Ika Ika. He just broods." "Ika Ika is not a useful habit," said Kurenai, glaring at Kakashi. Kakashi ignored Kurenai's objection and looked down at the arena. The crowd cheered as the participants walked the tournament arena along with the Jonin who was proctoring the finals, Genma Shiranui. Except Naruto. Where was Naruto? Then, as they reached the center of the arena, small fireworks started to go off near the group. Everyone turned to look at the sound of crackling and the sight of brightly colored sparks flying in broad daylight, the gunpowder explosions producing a small cloud of smoke. Then the fireworks stopped, and out of the smoke appeared Naruto in all his glory, wearing his orange jumpsuit. "Naruto Uzumaki has arrived. he announced, one finger pointing in the air. So, how do you guys like my new Shunshin? It's stupid, just like everything else you do, dead last, said Sasuke. Hey, I bet you can't even do a Shunshin, objected Naruto, pretending to be offended. Said Sasuke. He turned up his nose, not wanting to admit that it was true. Lee disagreed with Sasuke. It is a most youthful Shunshin, Naruto, he said, giving Naruto 2 thumbs up. Up in the audience, Kakashi said, trust Naruto to do something completely unique. Yosh, I must agree with Lee, bellowed Guy. It is a most youthful Shunshin. I shall have to ask Naruto if I can adopt it myself. He thought for a moment, his hand on his chin, then added, perhaps with green fireworks to represent the color of youth. Kakashi sighed. After a short speech by the Hokage and a standard dog and pony show, the competitors moved to a special box where they would watch the tournament whenever they weren't actually fighting. The first match will be between Tenten Higurashi and Shino Aburame, announced Genma. Tenten was prepared. Her specialties were weapons and Fuinjutsu. Well, Naruto would have called her an amateur, one-dimensional Fuinjutsu user, considering that the only thing she did with it was create sealing scrolls. But she did manage to seal a few things besides weapons in her scrolls, some of which required fairly advanced uses of Fuinjutsu. She was also a very decent Taijutsu fighter, an inescapable result of having Guy as her sensei. And she had a plan for Shino, whom she knew for a fact had spent the entire month at the Aburame compound learning Aburame clan insect techniques. Tenten had, after all, managed to manipulate her teammate Neji into spying on Shino for her. Neji was still humiliated after losing so quickly in the preliminaries to the dead last of the class below him, so manipulating him wasn't that hard. Unfortunately for Tenten, she was up against Shino Aburame, who had secretly trained with Naruto for the last 4 years. Shino being Shino, there was no pre-match banter. Tenten started the match by jumping away from Shino and throwing a handful of 4 kunai at him to test the waters. All 4, of course, were on target, flying at different parts of Shino's body. Shino caught all 4 kunai and threw them back. Shit. Only Guy-sensei would have been able to catch all 4 so easily. This guy is dangerous. Easily dodging the return kunai, Tenten decided to take it up 3 notches rather than just 1. She pulled out 2 scrolls that she had been practicing with a great deal over the last month, placed them beside herself, and quickly did 5 hand signs. Rising twin dragons, shouted Tenten, leaping high into the air. Her scrolls unrolled, spiraling around her, and she unsealed hundreds and hundreds of weapons of every kind, throwing them at Shino rapid fire. Every 4th weapon had a lit exploding tag connected to it. Shino made 3 hand seals and silently erected a basic earth wall. As the exploding tags first damaged, then destroyed his wall, he threw down a smoke bomb and disappeared. Ending her technique once she was out of weapons, Tenten examined the mostly destroyed wall from afar. Deciding that he was hiding behind the wall, Tenten ran in a wide arc around it, looking for Shino and hoping to re-engage at range. Suddenly the ground burst open in front of her and Shino attacked at close range with a kunai. Tenten reflexively blocked with her own kunai. Shino released a massive cloud of Kakechu which immediately swarmed Tenten. And that was the end of the fight. The crowd cheered as Genma announced Shino as the winner. The proctor, Genma, called for the next match. Choji Akimichi vs Shikamaru Nara. Shikamaru groaned. He looked at Choji, then he looked at Naruto. I forfeit, said Shikamaru. What? That was Ino, storming over to the competitor's box to give Shikamaru a piece of her mind. Shikamaru, are you sure? Asked Choji. Yeah, I don't want to fight you, that would be a drag. Naruto will give you a chance to show your skills when you fight him. Ino is going to be troublesome, but if I fight, there's a risk that they'll make me a chunin, which would be beyond troublesome. Naruto laughed. That was so like Shikamaru. Temari took offense. How do you know I'm not going to beat Naruto? She demanded. Shikamaru groaned and rubbed his temples. Troublesome blonde. Temari scowled at him. Genma announced, winner by forfeit, Choji Akimichi. Then Ino arrived. Shikamaru, you lazy bastard. She shouted. How dare you forfeit? She pounded him on the head with a hammer fist, smashing him onto the ground. Shikamaru groaned again. Even more troublesome blonde. Next fight, Naruto Uzumaki vs Temari Sabaku. Temari jumped on her fan and glided down to the arena, then placed her fan on her back. Naruto used his fireworks Shunshin to get down to the arena. Uchiha was right. Your Shunshin is stupid, taunted Temari. Hey, my Shunshin is awesome. I bet no one else has ever seen a fireworks shunshin before. Right, because it's oh so stealthy. Sarcasm dripped from Temeri's voice. It's not supposed to be stealthy. It's supposed to be awesome, said Naruto. Well, it's not. Really? Do you think I should change it? Maybe one big firework instead of a bunch of little ones. Or maybe I should add some firecrackers to make it louder. Temeri's eyebrow twitched. Proctor, start the match so I can beat some sense into this idiot. Uzumaki, are you ready? Asked Genma. I'm always ready, said Naruto, grinning. Then begin. So you're a wind user, right? Asked Naruto, making no move to actually start the fight. What with the fan and being from wind country and everything. And your element is fire, isn't it? I saw your clones using all those fireballs last month. Naruto smirked, remembering the time he and Gaara had played Godzilla with a sand version of the village hidden in the sand. And he had created shadow clones to defend. And fire trumps wind. Temeri jumped back to create some distance. Then she ran through 4 hand seals and shouted, Suiden no Jutsu. Water welled up from beneath the floor of the arena as Temeri drew on the groundwater. It instantly formed into large globs of water, which hovered in the air and shot at Naruto. Since you're a fire user, I spent the last month working on my secondary affinity of water, said Temeri. Cool, said Naruto. He dodged this way and that to avoid the water bullets. No pun intended. It doesn't seem to be doing much good, though. He was dodging without much difficulty. Temeri grabbed her fan and swung it, adding a blast of air behind the bullets and speeding them up. In an impressive display of control, she kept her water bullets going. Her fan automatically converted chakra to wind-natured chakra, so it didn't require her to do 2 elemental transformations at once. She couldn't produce cutting wind this way, but it was still a one-person combination ninjutsu. Yikes, what do I do? What do I do? Naruto frantically dodged and backpedaled. Oh wait, I have the perfect jutsu for this. Reaching into his kunai pouch, he pulled out a large firework and used it to obscure his shunshin. The firework exploding with a loud bang and shooting fizzling sparklers all over the place. Temeri frowned and stopped her water bullet technique. She swiped her fan powerfully, blowing away the cloud of smoke. Naruto was gone. Maybe it's stealthy after all, said Naruto from behind her, making Temeri whirl around. He had come out of his shunshin without setting off another firework, simply appearing in a silent puff of smoke, and now he was finishing a set of hand seals. Katen Gakakyu no Jutsu. A large fireball, about 4 meters in diameter, flew at Temeri, forcing her to dodge quickly. See Sasuke, I can use fireballs too. Huh? Shouted Naruto, ignoring his fight and pointing at Sasuke in the competitor's box. Sasuke glared back and growled. That was his signature technique. Farther up in the stands, Sakura, who was of course watching Sasuke rather than the actual fight, screamed, Naruto, how dare you steal Sasuke's technique? Her voice was heard loudly all over the arena. Orochimaru chuckled under the Kage's hat, wondering whether he should try to suborn Sakura for the Sound Village, since she was so talented at making noise. It wouldn't be too hard once he had the Uchiha. Temeri tried to take advantage of Naruto's distraction by swiping her fan and sending a strong blast of cutting wind at him. It was the only ninjutsu attack she had that she could fire off so quickly. Naruto just stood there, ignoring the wind. Not even his hair was ruffled. Sorry, I'm just a basic academy clone, said Naruto. The real me used a Kawarami right after shooting off that fireball, and left me here. I'm using a voice-throwing technique to make it seem like the clone is talking. The clone was actually moving its mouth and gesturing as Naruto spoke, which showed good control of the basic academy clone technique. Temeri had to look at its feet and confirm the absence of a shadow before she was sure that it was really a clone. She spun in a circle, using all her senses to scan for Naruto. Unfortunately, Temeri did not have any natural talent for sensing chakra, and being a genin, she hadn't trained in it yet. Wondering where I am, are you? Said Naruto rhetorically. Temeri ignored him. Can't be underground, or he wouldn't be able to throw his voice. Not in sight. Just in case, I'd better. Kai? Nope, not using Jinjutsu, said Naruto. He must be in the trees, decided Temeri. She suddenly took a running leap into the air and used her fan to glide toward the trees. Still in midair, she swung her fan with all 3 sections open, producing a massive blast of wind filled with cutting blades, slicing off branches and leaves and cutting down several trees entirely. Kamitachi no Jutsu. Nope, not in the trees, called Naruto, cupping his hands around his mouth as if to make his voice carry further. I'm getting tired of your commentary, shouted Temeri. She landed on the ground, pulled out a kunai and threw it at the clone. The clone dodged. Huh, you're getting rid of me that easily. He blew a raspberry. Temeri stomped over to the clone. Up in the audience stands, Kakashi quietly remarked, Big mistake, Suna Nin. The clone grinned stupidly. She swung her closed fan at it. Naruto caught the fan. Suddenly she realized that the clone had a shadow again. Naruto had switched back with the clone while she was looking away. Gotcha, shouted Naruto, wrenching Temari's fan away from her with both hands. He kicked her in the stomach, sending her flying back 5 meters. As Temari rose to her feet, coughing to get her breath back, Naruto opened the fan and examined it. Nice fan, he said. Looks a bit worn. Is this an heirloom? Temari was pissed. She stomped toward Naruto and growled, "Give me back my fan." She assumed, of course, that he couldn't wield it. Another big mistake. Naruto swung the open fan and channeled wind-natured chakra into it, producing a simple, powerful blast of wind that blew Temari off her feet and sent her flying. Much like a futon, Daidapa. He whistled. Very efficient. This was obviously made by a master. Then he closed the fan and quickly sealed it into a scroll, tucking it into the pouch on his leg. It looked like the final part of the fight had finally begun. From the dust cloud that Temari had produced when she smashed into the ground came a blast of killing intent. It was rather intense for a genin or even a chunin. Temari had spent a lot of time around her brother Gaara, who was constantly leaking demonic chakra and killing intent, so she was quite familiar with it and had managed to develop her own. Whoa, scary, taunted Naruto. What you gonna do now? Got any more elemental jutsu? Temari charged and attacked him with taijutsu. She was taller and older than Naruto, so it would be a logical deduction that she had a good chance against him. Or it would have been, had she been calm enough to think about it. In any case, that was her third and final big mistake. Naruto was stronger, faster, and more skilled. He utterly defeated her using basic Konoha Academy taijutsu. He moved faster and hit harder than any academy student could, of course, but he didn't use any special moves. He soon knocked out Temari with a concussion-inducing punch to the temple. There was scattered applause from the crowd as Genma announced Naruto as the winner, but for the most part the civilians just sat in sullen silence. Naruto pulled out the scroll containing Temari's fan and laid it by her side as the medics approached. That's her fan. Give it to her when she wakes up, will you? Then he walked back to the competitor's box. Up in the audience, Kakashi pulled his headband over his Sharingan again. Waste of chakra. Pulling out my Sharingan, he grumbled. Why did you use your Sharingan anyway? Asked Asuma. Surely you didn't expect Sabaku to move fast enough for you to need it. It wasn't Sabaku I was watching, it was Naruto. Naruto, said Asuma disbelievingly. I mean, it's impressive that he won, but he was the dead last of his academy class. That was apparently a deception. You didn't see him take out an ranked missing nin in the blink of an eye, stated Kakashi. Shino did say Naruto was hiding his strength, but an ranked missing nin, really? Who was it? Asked Kurenai. Zabuza Mamachi, the demon of the bloody mist, one of their 7 swordsmen. No way, you're joking, said Asuma. Apparently you had to see it to believe it. Do not underestimate Naruto Uzumaki. He is even more hip and cool than Kakashi. That was Guy's contribution to the conversation. Well, I wouldn't say that, said Kakashi, pulling out his Ika again. In any case, watch Naruto closely in his next matches. He didn't use anything more than basics in this fight. But if he gets serious, you could blink and miss everything. When Naruto returned to the competitor's box, he received congratulations from Choji and Lee, as well as Tenten, who had returned to the box after waking up thanks to a chakra infusion from the medics and a soldier pill. Shino and Shikamaru took it as a matter of course, the former giving Naruto a nod and the latter just twisting one side of his mouth up in a lazy smirk. Sasuke turned his nose up and ignored Naruto. Gaara glared at him. Was that concern for his sister? Or was he just glaring at everybody? Did it have something to do with the coming invasion? In any case, Naruto just raised an eyebrow at him and took a seat, not engaging since Gaara obviously wasn't in the mood for chatting. For some reason, glaring was all he had done today, even when Naruto greeted him before the first match. The next match is Rock Lee vs Sasuke Uchiha, announced Genma, as Lee ran down to the arena enthusiastically and Sasuke strolled down the stairs coolly. Naruto said, Sasuke's going to get crushed again. Are you sure? Asked Shikamaru. I heard that he unlocked his Sharingan last month. And now Sasuke knows not to underestimate Lee. Yup, I'm sure. Lee is going to make things interesting, but Sasuke doesn't stand a chance. Don't think that this fight is going to go the same way as our last, said Sasuke arrogantly. I've unlocked my Sharingan now, and there is no way you can ever beat an Uchiha with a Sharingan. To emphasize, he activated his bloodline limit, his red eyes showing 2 Tomo in each eye. Kakashi had pushed him over the last month, showing him how to enhance his muscles with chakra, then sparring with him at high speed to push the limits of his perception. YOSH, shouted Lee, bouncing up and down. Dai-sensei taught me how to fight against the Sharingan. Let's have a good match. You're as big of an idiot as Naruto. The Sharingan is invincible. Only an Uchiha can beat an Uchiha. Are you both ready? Asked Genma, not wanting this to go on further. Ready, Proctor. Then begin. Lee immediately fixed his eyes on Sasuke's feet and charged at him. Sasuke pulled out a kunai and swiped at Lee. Lee dodged it and attempted a leg sweep. Sasuke jumped over that and threw his kunai at Lee, who twisted out of the way. His ears attuned to the sound of flying kunai thanks to his teammate Tenten. Both of them ignored the SQUE. Go Sasuke, from Sekura up in the stands. Lee had apparently taken Guy's advice concerning his crush, and ignoring his fangirls was old hat for Sasuke. Their taijutsu match went on for about 5 minutes, during which neither genin obtained the advantage. There was a lot of dodging, a few hits, but nothing consequential, and very little blocking. Finally, Sasuke used a kawarami with a rock and made some distance, having decided that he couldn't beat Lee in taijutsu. In another world, Sasuke might have had a somewhat unhealthy rivalry with Naruto, both of them driving the other to make progress, and Sasuke might have forced Lee to drop his weights. However, Naruto saw no reason to reveal his true strength to Sasuke, much less see Sasuke as an equal and therefore a potential rival. Thus, Sasuke retained his delusions and was simply weaker than he could have been. Now Sasuke decided to bring out some ninjutsu, Katen Gakakyu no Jutsu. By this point, Temari had regained consciousness thanks to a medic healing her concussion and returned to the competitor's box. After glaring at Naruto, then thanking him for returning her fan, she sat down and watched the match. Now Temari looked at Sasuke's fireball critically and said, Naruto's was bigger. Ouch, Sasuke is not going to be happy to hear that, said Choji, munching his chips. The great fireball jutsu is a point of pride for an Uchiha. Yup, agreed Naruto. And what's even crazier is that Sasuke thinks the jutsu belongs to him because he's an Uchiha. So he's mad that I can even use it. Really, he thinks that, said Temari. I thought that was just his fangirl screaming. Oh yeah, he's that arrogant, confirmed Naruto. And that fangirl, she's our teammate. Lee dodged the fireball and took off at high speed in the direction it was launched from, still keeping his eyes near the ground and watching for threats with his peripheral visions in order to avoid catching Sasuke's eyes. Sasuke decided to deal with this threat by launching a Katen Hosenka no Jutsu, a volley of small fireballs that could be aimed individually and were launched in quick succession. An advanced user could actually alter the direction of the flames after they were launched. But Sasuke was not yet at that level. Lee dodged them all and continued closing with Sasuke, who did another kawarami to get away, this time replacing himself with a chunk of tree from the grove Temari had damaged earlier with her wind jutsu. Sasuke decided to try wire techniques to limit Lee's mobility. He hastily threw a number of kunai with wires attached between several trees, counting on his Sharingan to be able to see the wires himself, then fired another Hosenka no Jutsu at Lee and waited for him to approach. Sure enough, Lee soon came charging at Sasuke again, and they resumed their fight, bounding between tree trunks and branches. Sasuke managed to trap Lee in a few wires, tying his legs together and tripping him on the ground. He fired a Katen Ryuka no Jutsu at Lee where he lay trapped, shooting flames from his mouth at Lee like a mythical dragon's fire. YOSH, shouted Lee, seeing his danger. I shall prevail with the power of youth. He strained his muscles and jerked from side to side. Kunai popped out of trees. Sasuke was yanked off balance by the wires he was holding in his hand, and 3 of the wires snapped. Lee rolled out of the way of the flames and quickly untangled himself from the rest of the wires. That was a good trap, he said, but it will not work again. He grabbed a thick, fallen tree trunk and swung it at the tree Sasuke was standing in. Sasuke's tree broke and started falling. He leaped to another tree to avoid it when it fell. Lee whirled his tree trunk and swung it towards Sasuke. What followed was a chase through the grove as Lee rampaged through it, knocking down trees with his massive makeshift weapon, while Sasuke fled and tried to come up with a way to counter this new threat. Finally breaking out of the trees, Sasuke used a kawarami with a rock on the other side of the arena to escape. Lee followed him out of the tree line, his tree trunk weapon having slowly lost bits and pieces and finally splintered in half. As Lee carefully scanned the arena, trying not to catch Sasuke's Sharingan eyes, Sasuke decided to try something else. He made 9 hand seals and gathered lightning chakra in his right hand. The jutsu made a chirping sound as it sparked off his hand, and he gripped his right arm above the elbow with his left hand. Up in the stands, Kakashi groaned. Kakashi, how could you teach him that technique? Accused Guy. I didn't, said Kakashi. The brat stole it off me when I was making a point. He can't even use it properly. It leaves burns on his arm and he can't use it more than once a day due to the chakra requirements. I ordered him not to use it except to protect his friends and village, but as you can see, he's a selfish little shit. I see. Well, I suppose Lee is just going to have to stop holding back, said Guy. As Sasuke began charging towards Lee, the chirping bird sound of his Chidori alerted Lee to his location, and Lee immediately saw him moving over twice as fast as he had before. The spandex-clad boy grinned so widely that the sunlight glinted off his teeth. Then he dropped his weights. Then he disappeared in a burst of speed. He's even faster than Kakashi, thought Sasuke, tracking Lee with his Sharingan in alarm. Sasuke was completely unable to do anything as Lee approached at full throttle and roundhouse kicked him across the gut. Ignoring the Chidori because Sasuke was practically moving in slow motion compared to Lee's speed. Coughing up a few drops of blood, Sasuke flew toward the arena wall, his Chidori dissipating in mid-flight. Then Lee's weights hit the ground, creating a 2-meter wide crater and sinking deep into the packed dirt floor. Sasuke crashed into the concrete arena wall, cracking it, and immediately fell to the ground. When Genma checked on him, he was unconscious. Winner by knockout, Rock Lee. There were gasps throughout the crowd. They couldn't believe the vaunted last Uchiha had lost to a no-name ninja like Rock Lee. The medics carried Sasuke off with broken ribs, internal bleeding, and a concussion. He wouldn't be getting out of the hospital for hours. When Lee had finished his victory lap, dug his weights out of the dirt, and returned to the competitor's box, Genma announced the next match. Shino Aburame vs Gaara Sabaku. Gaara shunshined down to the arena in a swirl of sand. Shino decided to shunshin also, vanishing in a puff of smoke and reappearing 15 meters away from Gaara in the middle of the arena. When Genma started the match, Shino immediately jumped backwards, running through hand seals. He knew something about Gaara's fighting style thanks to seeing him crush another team in the Forest of Death during the second exam. But he needed to probe more. Mother will have your blood, said Gaara bloodthirstily. He reached out his hand and his sand surged forward at Shino from his gourd. Shino silently cast a Daten, Doryuso no Jutsu. Spikes formed out of the earth at an angle and attempted to skewer Gaara. A partial sphere of sand flowed around Gaara from his gourd and partially from the attack that was already reaching towards Shino. This had the effect of slowing the sand attack, but it blocked the rock spears solidly, causing their tips to shatter. Shino used a shunshin to move halfway across the arena. Gaara immediately started walking toward him. You cannot escape, he said. I will prove my existence by killing you. Prove his existence by killing, repeated Naruto, frowning. Temari, where the hell did your brother get such weird ideas? Temari kept her expression neutral. That's none of your concern, she said. Since his stone spears didn't work, Shino decided to try a different angle entirely. He ran through 5 hand seals and cast a Jinjutsu. Demonic Illusion, Tree Binding Death. It was supposed to make Gaara stop moving. It didn't do anything. Gaara didn't even react to the casting of the Jinjutsu, and Shino could feel the technique fall apart almost instantly. Apparently the demon sealed inside him was constantly messing with his chakra. Well, back to ninjutsu. As Gaara approached, Shino performed a Katen, Karyuan-dan, shooting a single large, intense dragon-shaped fire attack directly at Gaara. Shino could manipulate its direction if he so chose, but Gaara didn't even try to dodge. This time, a dome of sand enclosed Gaara entirely. Its surface turned partially to blackened glass as the fire dragon attack melted it. But when the attack was over, the glass shattered and Gaara continued on, sand surging around him. Shino shunshined away again, near Genma. Proctor, I forfeit, he said. None of my techniques are powerful to get through Gaara's defenses. Jinjutsu does not work against him, and I do not wish to go underground where Gaara might crush me with his control of sand. My Kakechu cannot absorb his chakra, and I cannot fight him with Taijutsu because at close range his sand is even more deadly. It would be illogical to continue. Genma nodded. Winner by forfeit, Gaara Sabaku. Gaara kept coming, bloodlust apparent on his face. Would both competitors please return to the competitor's box? This match is over. Shino vanished in a shunshin, seeing that there was nothing he could do. Fortunately, Gaara got the message when his prey disappeared. Nice try, Shino. I think they'll make you a chunin, said Naruto. Thank you, Naruto. When Gaara returned, he glared at Shino and muttered to himself. Okay, what's up with you, Gaara? Asked Naruto, trying to prove your existence by killing. Is Shukaku giving you problems? Gaara gripped his head, almost as if in pain. Then he looked up. I look forward to our match, Uzumaki, he said, his voice dripping with killing intent. Naruto blinked. Okay, me too. He grinned and gave Gaara a thumbs up. Most of the other genin in the competitor's box with them wondered how Naruto was able to shrug off that much bloodlust so casually. Gaara was scary. Next match, Choji Akimichi vs Naruto Uzumaki. Choji and Naruto weren't exactly close friends, but they had Shikamaru as a mutual friend, so they were on good terms. So Naruto didn't want to antagonize Choji like he had Temari. Unfortunately, Choji needed some motivation. He grinned at the other participants and shunshined down to the arena, this time releasing a handful of firecrackers along with a cloud of smoke at each end of his shunshin. Hey Naruto, you ready for this? Asked Choji as he reached the center of the arena. Yup. You gonna put away your chips before the fight? Or do you use them as weapons? I know there are some jutsu for using food as weapons. That's horrible. Why would you waste food like that? Naruto shrugged. I dunno. Some people just don't appreciate the value of food. On the other hand, you don't necessarily have to waste the food. What if you use it as a medium for genjutsu? Then you can still eat it afterwards. Use it as a medium for genjutsu. Naruto grinned. Imagine this, you're forced to fight an enemy shinobi, but you're hungry and you don't want to fight him. So you pull out a bag of peanuts and you toss them one by one in the air, catching them in your mouth. The enemy ninja is almost guaranteed to at least take a quick look at your peanuts. That's when you channel your chakra through your peanuts and sneakily cast a genjutsu on him. You finish your food while he's distracted by your genjutsu, and then you pound him. Choji was practically mesmerized by this idea. In fact, half the ninja in the audience were wondering if it was feasible, including the proctor Genma. Hey Asuma-sensei, shouted Choji, turning to look up at the stands, can you teach me some genjutsu? Asuma called back, we'll talk about it after you win your match. Then he turned to Kurenai and whispered, is that actually possible? Kurenai smiled. Definitely possible. It will not be easy, though. Help? Kurenai chuckled. Asuma wasn't that great at genjutsu. Sure, he could detect and dispel it quite well, but he only knew a couple of C-ranked illusions. Start thinking about how you're going to pay for it. Kakashi overheard this and started giggling pervertedly, prompting Kurenai to blast him with her killing intent. Down in the arena, Choji's eyes practically lit on fire. He appended his bag of chips over his mouth and quickly chomped down the remainder. Then he tucked the bag in his pocket and pounded his fists together. Start the match. Naruto grinned. He hadn't even needed to prompt Choji to finish the fight first. Asuma had done that for him. Unfortunately, their match was still somewhat boring. Choji used his human bullet tank move, turning into a big rolling ball of destruction, and revealed that he had learned to do a partial expansion version of the Akimichi clan's body expansion technique, expanding only his arm and using the speed of the expansion to strike faster as well as harder. Naruto easily dodged most of Choji's moves. At one point, he raised his arms and blocked, allowing himself to be sent flying by a horizontal swipe by Choji's massive arm, just to show how strong Choji really was. Due to chakra enhancement, Naruto wasn't hurt, though, and landed on his feet. Eventually, he created some space with a kawarami and decided to start using Earth Jutsu. He fired some basic rock projectiles, which Choji managed to evade, put up a few basic earth walls to defend himself, which Choji smashed through with his human bullet tank, and eventually caught Choji in a pit trap behind a wall, and released knockout gas into the pit with a Fuinjutsu tag. Choji didn't manage to get out of the pit before he breathed in the gas and passed out. Apparently, he still required hand seals for kawarami, so that was the end of the fight. The next match was Lee vs Gaara. It was Lee's relentless, fast-paced, and high-powered taijutsu against Gaara's incredible sand defenses. Lee opened 5 of the 8 gates. His speed was incredible. Gaara won by using a sand clone to avoid getting hurt when Lee managed to bypass his ultimate defense. When Lee ran out of steam due to his use of the gates and wanted to keep fighting, Naruto interfered. He shunshined down to the arena and put a hand on Lee's shoulder. That's enough, Lee. Naruto, said Lee. I must continue. Gaara, for some reason, stopped attacking when Naruto appeared and clutched his head. You cannot win, said Naruto. Do not risk your ninja career for this one fight. He's mine now. Oh, right, said Lee, breathing painfully. He relaxed. If anyone can do it, you can, my eternal rival. And with that, Lee dozed off, the act of relaxing after putting his body through such strain enough to knock him out. There was silence for a moment. What? Shouted Tenten from the stands above. You're the secret eternal rival he keeps talking about. The one he's never beaten in Taijutsu. Naruto groaned and facepalmed. It was supposed to be a secret.
So this was the end of the series. I hope you enjoyed it, and to watch more series like this, subscribe to my channel. Till then, we weeb offline.